Good morning, dear respected Thai, dear beloved community. Today is Sunday, the 10th of June 2018. This is the 10th day of our 21-day retreat with the theme Soulmate of the Buddha, and we are in the Upper Hamlet. Whenever we hear a sound of the bell, we go into what one of our sisters call bell mode. We bring our mind home to our body and become aware of our breathing. In fact, by turning our attention to our breathing, the breathing in and the breathing out, we naturally become aware of our body, because the breathing is a function of the body. So when we hear the sound of the bell, we bring our mind home to our body by becoming aware of our breathing. And we enjoy the miracle that our body knows how to breathe. And we don't need to do anything. Imagine our body would not know how to breathe. We would be busy the whole day. Have to breathe in, have to breathe out. Would not be able to do anything. But our body is a miracle and knows how to breathe. So when we hear the sound of the bell, we come back to ourselves to establish ourselves firmly in the present moment, to know what is happening inside of us and around us, so that we can take care of ourselves and take care of what is around us. So my question is, when we hear sound of the bell, do we really go into bell mode? Every time we hear a sound of the bell, do we bring our mind home to our body and establish ourselves firmly in the present moment? When I actually do it, I find I have a moment of peace and calm and clarity. And sometimes I find myself waiting, because when there's a sound of the bell, we all stop our physical actions. We freeze in action. We stop, and that has a certain energy, this stopping. So I've noticed that even if I'm really absorbed in something, and there is a sound of the bell, and I may not necessarily hear it because I am so one-pointedly, concentrated, it is the energy of everybody around me who physically stops, and mentally, maybe to a certain degree, it's that energy that makes me come out of this one-pointed concentration and be more aware of what is happening around me, and then I can stop. Also, but sometimes I am doing something, usually thinking, and I hear the sound of the bell, and I stop physically doing what I'm doing, but my thinking continues. I am waiting. I go into waiting mode. So when I notice I go into waiting mode, or that I have been in waiting mode while everybody else was in bell mode, and then everybody starts to move, and I'm about to move, because I was actually just waiting for everybody to move so I could move, I realized, oh wait, I was waiting. Well, no sweat. I can catch up. I can say, okay, even though everybody continue to do what they're doing, I can take a moment to really stop. Yeah? Stop physically, and then stop mentally, stop being carried away by things concerning the future, or things concerning the past, or something that is preoccupying me in the present. To stop that and to have one moment of peace and calm. One moment of respite. And then, after a few breathings like that, or the period of a few in and out breaths, I feel more present and can clearly see what is happening. So when I find myself waiting, I do not blame, because that's of no use. That's kind of a second arrow. I already waited, that's the first one. Blaming is the second one. So I do not shoot the second arrow. I say, this happens to, I was going to say the best of us, but maybe I should say, this happens to a number of us. So I'm sure I'm not the only one, and it's much nicer when you do something as a Sangha. But maybe not waiting. Huh? We like to stop. So bell mode. And this is what I would like to give you this day, at the start of this talk, the bell mode. Remember when there's a sound of the bell, oh yes, bell mode. Yeah? And then when we go into bell mode frequently throughout the day, we will find that we are spending longer and longer periods in bell mode, even though there is not a sound of something in the shape of a bell. Actually, it is the beauty around us that may be our bell. That says, hello, I'm here for you. Yeah? And when we go into bell mode, we can say, I know you're there and I'm so happy. And this is not only for the beauty in nature, it is also for our loved ones, or maybe right in front of us. And even if there is a sound of the bell, we may not go into bell mode, and we may not know they're standing in front of us. Or if we do see them, we may not see what they're trying to tell us. Yeah. So we go into bell mode. And then more and more throughout the day, we will be in bell mode. So today, we continue with the theme of the soulmate of the Buddha, and we would like to look or practice looking into right view in the light of the relative and ultimate truth. Now, don't be daunted. I want to approach this theme on the level of practice. So I will say a little bit about the theory, and then see what are we going to do with this information we just received. How are we going to put it into practice? So right view. Right view is the view that transcends all notions. The notions of birth, death, being, non-being, same, different, coming and going. All other notions stem from these four notions. So to transcend those notions, And right view is based on the insight of interbeing and interdependent co-arising. So today we shall also look into the practice of interbeing and dependent co-arising. And this insight, this right view, helps us to transcend all discrimination, all fear, worries, anxieties, hatred, conflict, the complexes, complex of superiority, inferiority, and equality. Who would not like to have that insight? It's really an inspiration to practice. So these insights, or the insight of right view, gives rise to the kind of thought and speech and actions that have the quality of non-discrimination, of inclusiveness, of acceptance, of understanding, compassion, and love. You see, I could have written a book about this. So it was not easy to decide what to take. Like to take the, see if I can take out the essence. So there are two kinds of truths. There's the relative truth and the ultimate truth. So in the relative truth, we speak of you, me, mother and daughter, for change. Often we say father and son. So this is just for variety. Above, below, ancestors, descendants, and of course birth and death, coming, going, being and non-being. And we need these, what we call conventional designations, otherwise we would not be able to live our daily life. However, these conventional designations, the relative truth, they do not cause us suffering. What causes us suffering is that we take them for the truth. And we get caught in them. So how can we get out of that suffering? I was thinking, yes, we need those conventional designations. Imagine we are at the airport and we have to show some piece of identity and we hand them a mirror and we say, I am in you, you are in me, we wouldn't get very far, definitely, So, of course, we have to give something that says, this is, Sister Nghiem, born at such and such a date, etc., etc. So, we need it, but we should not be taking them for the truth. in order to be able to touch the ultimate truth, we need a relative truth. We need to look deeply into the relative truth to find its true nature, which is the ultimate truth. So, let us start by cherishing the relative truth. That there is a you and a me, you and an I. A birth, a death, a same, different, being, non-being, and coming and going. So this is the relative, and this is the absolute truth. So on the relative level, as I said, we have you, I, mother, daughter, birth, death, being, non-being, coming, going, same, different. It's on this level. I'm going to put you, I, mother, son, why not? Okay? Inclusiveness. Mother and son. This is what we need in daily life, and we live from that. And it causes difficulties because we hold it to be absolute truth. Yeah. So that's why we can say, I have nothing to do with my parents. I have nothing to do with my parents. I have distanced myself from my parents. I don't want to have anything to do with them. Yeah. In the relative truth, may be possible. In the ultimate truth, it's not possible. Same. According to my identity card, I was born. And since I was born, I'm bound to die. Birth. Yes. let me say birth. Birth. So, I'm bound to die. Here, there is neither the same nor different. Correct, Sister Annabelle? Huh? No? I asked Sister Annabelle, she's the specialist. Thank you. Beyond, you see, I have a different, beyond same and difference. Thank you, Sister Annabelle. Beyond same and difference. Can I say no birth, no death? Thank you. Okay, so we just leave it so far. And then there is being, non-being. Just going to put it here, being, non-being. No being, no non-being. Same, different, birth, death, being, at the end. Coming, going. No coming, no going. So the relative truth and the absolute truth. Being stuck in the relative truth causes us to suffer. And when we get stuck in the absolute truth, or what we think is the absolute truth, we cannot live our daily life. You know, we also suffer. Yeah. Our practice is to look deeply into the relative truth, to see its nature of absolute truth. So how can we do this? You know? How can we do this? How can we get the insight of beyond same and different? How can we get that insight? In order to be able to touch the ultimate truth, we need to look deeply into the relative truth and to let go of our notions. To let go of our notions. To let go of our notions and the habit of grasping. The habit of grasping reality with notions. So, if we want to touch nirvana, we need to look deeply into birth and death. And this capacity to go beyond notions, and to let go of our notions and the habit of grasping, that is what we call the wisdom of adaptation. Okay. That's the theory. Yeah? There is something called the wisdom of adaptation. To let go of taking refuge in notion and the habit of grasping by habit energies. How do we practice that in daily life? How and what do we practice to go from being stuck in the idea of same, different, birth, death, I, you, I am I, you are you, mother, son, in order to come to beyond same and different, no birth and death, no being, no non-being, no coming and going. And that is what I want to share with you today. How do we do this? How do we do this? Well, so we have a view is also the way we look at things. We have two ways of looking. One is when we're looking at what, like what am I, what is the other is the other, I am I, my mother, I'm looking at my mother, she is my mother, I'm a daughter, it's about what? Phenomenological, okay? The ultimate truth, which is written with a U. When I want to practice the ultimate truth, I ask or I practice how I look. How do I look into the what? So I practice with two things, what and how. Yeah? Is that clear? What am I looking into? Looking into myself, looking into my mother. Yeah? Looking into birth, into death, into same, into different. Yeah? So I'm looking into in order to come to the ultimate truth. There's a practice that I like very much. And that's the practice of the three touchings. And I've brought them here. The three touchings. The other day in the lower hamlets we practiced the 5 touchings. And this is the 3 touchings. And they help us, excuse me, they help us to let go of the idea we have of ourselves and of all other things. And maybe we can have a sound of the bell, so we can go into bell mode before we continue. So then we're looking at ourselves, we take ourselves as a phenomenological entity, to look deeply in order to touch the nominal entity we are also. Yeah. So we have this idea of ourselves. You know? I am I, my mother is my mother, my father is my father, my grandfather is my grandfather, etc. And my ancestors are my ancestors, but I am different because I am I. Yeah. And as I said, this causes us a lot of different difficulties, and also it makes us so small, because if I am I, you know, and I say I am I make myself small. You know, I don't want to accept the qualities and the suffering of my ancestors in me. You know, if something comes up, then, you know, we pretend it's not there. You know, we are not like that. You know, our parents are, our ancestors are, our land ancestors are, but we are not like that. And that doesn't work. So the 3 touchings, when I practice them, I feel spacious. No, a full space, not an empty space. I feel very large, very big. And in these 3 touchings, the first one, we connect with our ancestors and descendants of both our spiritual and our blood family. Sometimes we do not want to have anything to do with our ancestors, blood or spiritual, because they caused suffering. In the world. But even if we say, I don't want to have anything to do with them, it's not possible. It's just not possible. You know, we cannot take them out of us. Our ancestors and our descendants, we represent them with a vertical line, right? Ancestors are before us, descendants come after us. Yeah. So let's say this is where we are. Okay. This is me. Of course I know, this is my father. And this is my mother. Okay. My father is my father, my mother is my mother. I am me. I am I. Okay. However, we all know that we are made of our father and our mother. When I teach children this, I ask them, or I give them a yellow marker and a blue one. And I say, let's say, the father is yellow. In Germany I said the father is blue, and everybody started laughing, because that's an expression. So I'll say now the father is yellow. I've learned my lesson. And the mother is blue. So if my father is yellow and my mother is blue, I am green. Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes, I am green. Okay. Now, if I would say, I don't want to have anything to do with my mother, then I would take the blue out of me, and then I would be yellow. No, that doesn't work. I'm green. I'm green. So I cannot possibly take my mother out of me. I would be yellow, but I'm not yellow, I'm green. I would be blue, sorry. If I take the... No. No, right. Because I've always said the father is blue. Now the father is yellow. So, sorry. Please bear with me. It's habit energy. So if I would take my mother, right? If I would take my mother out of me, that was it. I said, well, whatever. If I take either one out of me, I would be green. I would be. No. Start again. I'm very sorry. So, if I would say, I don't want to have anything to do with my mother, it would be like taking the blue out of me, and then I would be yellow. If I would say, I don't want to have anything to do with my father, I would take the yellow out of me, and I would be blue. But I am green. So I cannot possibly take either my father or my mother out of me. Yeah. So when we practice the first touching, this is the reality we are touching. And in order to touch that reality, we have to let go of the idea we have of ourselves. And how do we do this? When we bow down, when we touch the earth, and we join our palms, we bring our mind home to our body to be truly present. And we bow down. Bowing down is a sign of humility, humbleness. Yeah? This is what Thai teaches us, and I thought, yes, humble. And I thought, why would I be humble when I bow down? And thought maybe because I'm humble enough to practice letting go of the view I have, that I am a separate entity, which I know is true. It's not, but I hold on to this view. I bow down with the humbleness of I'm ready to let go of that view. So bow down, and when we are with all our 5 limbs on the floor, we open our hands like this. We open our hands. For me, that is an expression of a willingness to let go and not holding on. I'm opening my hands. So when I practice touching the earth, I open my hands. Yeah? When I'm guided in a total relaxation, we lie like this and we have our hands, our arms alongside my body. I become aware of my hands. Are my hands like this, like the fingers slightly bent? I've noticed when I really go into total relaxation, my hands open. So when I feel my hands are kind of, fingers are bent, I think I'm still kind of holding on to something. I'm not totally in the relaxation. I'm not totally in the relaxation. So when we practice touching earth, I open, to let go of the notions I have of myself, in order to be able to look into them and touch the realm where there's no notion of same, different, beyond same and different. Beyond same and different. I am my ancestors, and they are they are me. When I was looking into this, I realized, I like to look at this in the light of the totality of my father is in me, and the totality of my mother. My father has transmitted himself totally, and so has my mother. Yeah? They are both fully present. That is, it is me. I am fully my father and my mother. Okay? You say, yes, but you're not exactly like your father and not exactly like your mother. No, because they're all the habit energies, and a habit energy describes the strength of a certain seed. So we have inherited the seeds from our parents in a certain strength. Now the certain strength of one seed in our father may not be the same as the certain strength of a seed in our mother. So kind of they balance each other out a little bit. So we're not exactly like our father, not exactly like our mother. Okay, so father and mother are in me, but not only that. Because if I am made up of my father and my mother, it means my mother is also made up of her father and her mother. Right? And so is my father. He's made up of his father and his mother. So, my father is yellow in relation to me, but is green in relation to his parents. Which means, yeah, and the same with my mother. It's blue in relation to me and green in relation to her parents. Yeah. This is how I look in order to understand that not only my parents are in me, I am a continuation of my parents, but also of my grandparents, and of their grandparents, and of their grandparents' parents. And. So if I have to draw that, I have 2 more here, there's 4 now, because with every generation there are a few. Yeah? You see what I'm doing? So every little circle has 2 circles as an okay. Okay, cannot draw them all, there are too many. You see? All of that. I am the continuation of all these ancestors. All of them. So letting go of the idea I have of myself when I touch the earth allows me to be in contact with all my ancestors into infinity. So letting go of the idea I have of myself as I touch the earth, being willing to let go, in order to touch, the ultimate reality, which is I am with all my ancestors. I am their continuation. I am their continuation. Then taking care of myself, I am taking care of my ancestors. At a certain point I thought, yeah, but it's too late, they're no longer there. And I thought, Caught in the relative truth. I know it somewhere in my mind, but I haven't realized it yet. Because I think it's too late to do anything for my ancestors. Yeah. But no, it's not. And I thought, I think my ancestors count on me to take care of them. They count on me. They count on me to continue to develop their strength, yes, and to take care of their weaknesses, their afflictions. Yeah. I do it for them, and I do it at the same time for my descendants. I don't have physical descendants, but I have relational descendants, maybe. Yeah. So the first touching does this. And in the first touching, we look at the descendants, spiritual, and the blood family. And the last sentence of this practice is, my spiritual ancestors, blood ancestors, spiritual descendants and blood descendants are all part of me. I am them and they are me. I do not have a separate self. All exist as part of a wonderful stream of life which is constantly moving. So as I said, I do not have blood ancestors, but I may have some blood descendants. I may have some spiritual descendants in the light of when I spend time with my sisters, my spiritual sisters. And that's what I want to come to in the next touching. Maybe we can have a bell to go into bell mode. So this is, when I say I mean all of us. This is us. So we have descendants. Descendants need two, We have descendants. And they will be two. They have descendants. Maybe even three. So our descendants, they multiply in the same way as they multiply in the same way as when we look at our ancestors. Okay. Now, so we continue in the future through our descendants. In the second touching, we look into everybody who is here with us. So everybody who is here in this world with us. And we see themselves in us and ourselves in them. In order to understand this, I looked and thought, okay, let me start with friends. You know? I'm here, it's on the same level as a friend. Maybe I'll just put this a little bit. Okay. With a friend. So when I look deeply into myself, do I see my friend? She is my friend, and I am, she is she, her, I am I. We are different. Yeah. When I look deeply, I see my friend in me, and my friends in me. I see my sisters in myself. Living together with my sisters or having friends, we rub shoulders, if you like. And this means, for me, mentally, that the sister's being is transmitted to me. If my sister is a very compassionate person and I spend a lot of time with her, I become more compassionate. She is in me. I am in her. Yeah? I am being conditioned by her, and I condition her. Yeah? I look and I see that we are not separate. When I look further, I see that my friend is conditioned by also others she meets, and they are conditioned, and they are conditioned. They are in each other. And I can look very far, and I will come to places, physical places here, far from here maybe, where there may be hunger, where there may be despair. Yeah? And they come to me through all the connections of my friends and friends and friends and friends and friends. Yeah? We're all connected. You see that? I had to really look into this when Tai said we are one. You know, with the people who are hungry, we are one. With the people who die in the war, who are ill, you know, who are caught in a situation of war and oppression. Not, yes, I can put myself in their skin. True? And when I can put myself in their skin, I am one with them. But there's also something else, the suffering that they experience, you know, that passes on to people they're in contact with, and the people they're in contact with are in contact with other people, and they're in contact with other people, and other, and other, and other, and other. So it also comes to us in that way. Not just an idea, but as a reality. As a reality. As a reality. And reality of interbeing. Not only do, you know, this, like one person actually being in contact with another person, in contact with the other person, but my friend has also her father and her mother. Okay? She's the continuation of her father, of her mother. And her father and mother have also father and mothers. Okay? And they have father and mothers. And this is with everybody. Yeah? So when I am in contact with one friend, I am in contact with everybody she is friends with all their parents, grandparents, ascendants, yeah, okay, spiritual and blood ascendants, yeah, okay, and that of everybody who's in contact with everybody. This means that when I get up after the second touching of the earth, I am immense already, yeah. I can grasp, yes, I am the person who is suffering. I am. Yeah? We are not separate beings. Also, I had to look to see that, of course it also goes in this direction, that in all this interbeing of everybody here, it's not only suffering, you know, there's also insight, there's beauty, there's goodness, you know. And then I say, well, am I Mother Teresa? You know. There is something that has come down, there's something, and I can water it, I can make it bloom and flower, yeah. Call on it. Yeah? So it's not only like all the suffering that we identified with, but also all the goodness that is there. That we are in touch with when we touch the earth in the second touching. Because the second part of this touching says, I am one with the great beings who have realized the truth of no birth and no death, and are able to look at the forms of birth and death, happiness and suffering with calm eyes. I am one with those people who can be found a little bit everywhere, who have sufficient peace of mind, understanding and love, and who are able to touch what is wonderful, nourishing and healing, who also have the capacity to embrace the world with a heart of love and arms of caring action. I thought, well, I do not need to look very far. I just think of Thai and Sister Nghiem, and I think, yes, I'm very, very fortunate to be in the presence of such great beings, to be able to enjoy and be nourished by their presence, inspired. I am someone who has enough peace, joy and freedom and is able to offer fearlessness and joy to living beings around themselves. And here I see that I am not lonely and cut off. The love and the happiness of great beings on this planet help me not to sink in despair. They help me to live my life in a meaningful way with true peace and happiness. I see them all in me, and I see myself in all of them. This sentence, I see that I'm not lonely and cut off. So when we feel lonely and cut off, I think there may be, we may feel that at times, lonely and cut off. I have also felt lonely and cut off at times. And I ask myself, why do I feel lonely and cut off? And it always came to, because I think I'm a separate individual entity. I'm not in touch with my inter-being nature. Yeah. So when I have a difficulty, and then I go for walking meditation, and my mind is all over the place. My feet are touching the earth, and I'm not aware of it. And then I think, okay, Thai is in me. Let Thai do the walking. And I call on Thai. So Thai, please walk for me. And I let Thai walk. And I always feel better after that. So when I feel lonely, I look deeply into myself to see my ascendants in me, to see all the people who are here with me now. And the connection we have, this connection of interbeing. And then I have energy. And this energy then helps me to use my life for the benefit of people and all non-people elements. Imagine here all the zeros, all the little rounds. I'm going to just fill it up a little bit. These are all the descendants of the descendants of the descendants of the descendants. And there. And so on, and so on, and so on. You can fill this whole whiteboard with little circles. Yeah. After the touching of the first and the second, after the earth, the first and the second earth touching. I am, I was, I will be. What I am was already there. What I am is still here. What I am continues here and continues everywhere. And that's the third touching. The idea of a lifespan, that there is birth and that there is death. Well, so when we look at the third touching, we look to see that this body, which is made up of the four elements, is not really me, and I'm not limited by this body. I am part of a stream of life of spiritual and blood ancestors that for thousands of years has been flowing into the present and flows on for thousands of years into the future. I am one with my ancestors, I am one with all people and all species, whether they're peaceful or fearless, suffering or afraid. Even at this moment, I'm present everywhere on the planet. I'm also present in the past and the future. The disintegration of this body does not touch me, just as when the plum blossom falls, it does not mean the end of the plum tree. I see myself as a wave on the surface of the ocean. My nature is the ocean water. I see myself in all the other waves and see all the other waves in me. The appearance and disappearance of the form of the wave does not affect the ocean. My Dharma body and spiritual life are not subject to birth and death. I see the presence of myself before my body manifested and after my body has disintegrated. Even in this moment, I see how I exist elsewhere than in this body. 70, 80, or 90 years is not my lifespan. My lifespan, like the lifespan of a leaf or a Buddha, is limitless. I have gone beyond the idea that I am a body that is separated in space and time from all other forms of life. Maybe we can have a bell mode moment. After my mother passed away, I asked myself the question, where is she now? Where is she now? Where's my mother? And I meditated on that for a long time, and I just couldn't get an answer. Where is she now? I don't know. My mother was a Christian, so I'm sure she's in heaven. Absolutely. She's a very good woman. Loved her. But I thought, but where? Where is she? I cannot figure out what heaven is. I don't know, but my mother knew. And I thought, where is she? And I sat down, and then I thought, well, this is a long time ago, even before I came to Plum Village. I thought, what was my mother? You know, as I knew her. Let me start there. Somehow I intuitively I came to that. What was my mother? So I thought, sense of humor to start with. spirited woman. She was Irish. A love for music, dance, literature. She was easygoing. And she loved the sea. And at the latter part of her life, when I was staying with her, I sometimes used to drive her to the sea because she loved to walk in the surf, take off her shoes and socks and go wading in the surf. And I would do the same. I walk with her. I thought that was my mother. And then I thought, but that love, for life, that love for the beauties of life, that love of music, that sense of humor, the love of poetry, all that is still here. There are many people who love music. There are many people who make music. There are many people who like poetry, who write poetry, who have a sense of humor. Many. And I thought, so in fact, that's what I used to call my mother, that turns out to be a conglomeration of things. All those elements are still there. Yeah? Some of them in me, in my siblings, but also in others. Maybe the horizontal line. Also, everything is still there. And yes, I was sad. I was sad. I had grief, but there was also something else. And when one of my sisters came to visit me, about 6 months after the passing of my mother, she said at a certain point, I see that you know how to take care of yourself. And I didn't know exactly what she meant. We went on. And it was not until a few years later I realized, yes, I was experiencing my mother's death in a different way than she was experiencing it. So it was not until much later that I shared with her the meditation that I had done. And it still helped her at that point. So a few weeks ago, we were in Ireland. We were in Ireland for some Dharma activities. And the retreat we gave was held in a friary on the northwest coast of Ireland in Donegal. It was right, on an estuary on the beach. And one day when we were doing walking meditation, we stopped somewhere. One of my sisters took off her shoes and her socks and started wading in the sea. And I thought, my mother loves this. She is so happy to be in Donegal, to be on Irish soil and to wade, in the surf. I was so happy. I was happy all the time during our stay in Ireland, because it is the land, the birthland of my mother. She was born there and lived there. And the sister said, what they noticed in Ireland is the joy of sister union. And I thought, it's not just my joy, it's my mother's joy also. I am so happy to be in Ireland. Can kiss the ground, but not on the airport. Maybe Wicklow Mountains or so, for those of you who know Ireland. So I thought, my mother is there. She is still there. And she has always been, I just need to say, how am I going to look at this? Yes, I'm looking at my mother, and how am I going to look? Going to look with the eyes of interbeing, in order to my mother in me and in the love of wading in the sea. Maybe we have another bell before I continue. So this is one way of going in the direction from touching the direction of touching the ultimate while touching the relative. This image here, being in contact with all those who are here in the world with me, I also use the image of a candle. So in the we have individual consciousness. It's the candle of one light and the light of one candle. And there is the collective consciousness, which is the totality of all the lights of the individual consciousness. Yeah? Of the individual candles. Yeah? So, on the one hand, our individual consciousness is what we offer to the collective consciousness. Yeah? So we are part of what makes the collective consciousness possible. And on the other hand, all the other candles, their individual consciousness, makes it possible for us to be part of the collective consciousness. Yes? Okay, thank you. We are a contributor and a receiver at the same time. And this is, okay, where does our individual consciousness stop? Like, at our skin? We know this very well when we're sitting next to somebody. We can tell whether they're happy or unhappy, sad. When we're traveling, maybe in a plane, we know whether the person next to us is afraid or not when it starts to be a little bit bumpy. Yes, they don't say anything, We don't even see them, but we know. Because their consciousness is not separate from ours. Yeah? And we also know that if there are a number of people who get afraid, it spreads very quickly in the collective consciousness. Because our individual consciousness is not separate from the collective consciousness. And this can bring about a lot of good. It can also bring about suffering. Yeah? But it's also through this that we can be in touch with all those who suffer and all those who do good things in the world. Yeah? Another way of touching, a practical way of going from the relative to the ultimate, is to look at the causes and conditions. causes and conditions of how things come to be. And for that, we can take Thay's poem, Please Call Me by My True Names, as a guideline. As a guideline. How to look in the phenomena in order to touch the nomina. Thay was able to put himself in the skin of a pirate at the time of that we call the boat people. There were times where pirates would capture or invade a boat with boat people to take their gold, And Thay says, and on one of those occasions, maybe more occasions, the pirates, so-called pirates, were carried away by their desire, and they violated a young woman. And one of the times when Thay heard that message, received that message, Thay had to practice looking deeply in order to come to understanding. From understanding, naturally, compassion is born. And from compassion, an action comes, like, this person needs help. Yeah. Understanding and compassion does not mean that we condone the act. It is to understand why somebody did it. So Thay put himself in the skin of the young fisherman, seeing, how he was born in a little village with a lot of poverty, a lot of violence, anger, hatred, and that these young men were trying to find a way out. So they said, let's go and, go to the boat people, go to the boats, And then they were carried away by their desire. They had nobody in their surroundings to teach them anything about suffering and the causes of suffering. And that's why Thay, after that, saw, if Thay would have been born in that village under exactly the same conditions as those young men, he would have done the same. And when I heard that, I thought, what insight, but also this humbleness that comes from looking deeply, really looking deeply, not holding on to, I am this and I'm always this, but if I were born under those conditions, lived that kind of life, I would have done the same. If I would say, no, I would not have done the same, it would mean I was not born and brought up and lived under the same conditions. Because everything is because of conditions. So those conditions led to that. It may have needed just one other condition in order to not lead to that. But it did. So I think, what do I do with this? I'm very touched by that poem, and I thought, can I live with that insight that everything is because of causes and conditions? So I start to look at myself, and in the first 21-day retreat in 1990, Thay gave us a metta meditation. Where Thay asked us to look at ourselves and to look at our childhood. See, what was our childhood like? Thay wanted us to understand ourselves, to have compassion for ourselves, and to know what to do and not to do in order to heal and transform our suffering. So to look at our childhood. To look at our education. from whatever time that happened. To look at our environment, let's say family also. Okay. Family and beyond. Yeah. Also social environment. To look at our economic situation. To look at our health. So when we have a difficulty with someone, once we have done this for ourselves and understood how we came to be as we are, we can have compassion. It will arise by itself, and we will know what to do and not to do in order to take care of ourselves, to go in the direction of healing and transformation. All these are conditions that have watered seeds in us, that have conditioned us. We can change that conditioning by being aware what seeds we water in us. So if we're looking at somebody nowadays, whether it's in our personal life or in society, on a political level, if we don't understand why somebody does something on a political level, after we have done this meditation on ourselves, can we do that on that person? Yeah? And try to see what could the childhood have looked like? What could the environment have looked like? You know? What does the education look like? And the education on the national level also. You know? What economic and the health-wise, in order to understand. And not to condone, to understand. And then say, this person must be deeply suffering. What can we do to help? Now, in the 14 mindfulness trainings, if you want to look into the views that we have and we hold onto, we study and practice all of them, and in specifically the first 3. But there is one the 8th, true community and communication. Where Thai speaks about difficulties that arise, and basically through communication. And Thai put in there a sentence, we will not behave as a victim, but be active in finding ways to reconcile and resolve all conflicts, however small. When we were revising the 14 mindfulness trainings, I was working with another sister, Kyra Jewel, and we were discussing, we said that, to behave like a victim and be active in finding ways to reconcile and resolve, we thought that was a bit strong. So we went to Thai and said, Thai, can we take that out? They said, no, it needs to be in there. It needs to be in there. So we went back and we looked a little bit further, and then we said, okay, can we sort of give some clue how they could do this? Not to be a victim, because that was not in here specifically. And we asked, could we put in there, like, can we look deeply into ourselves and others to recognize all the causes and conditions, including our own habit energies, that have brought about the difficulties? We will take responsibility for the ways we may have contributed to the conflict. That was what we wanted to have in there. And keep communication open. When in 2001, I think, when there was the attack on the towers, Thai gave a talk on the 25th of September in New York. And Tai said there that America has to ask Iraq, what did we do for you to do this? And I thought, oof, that's a strong teaching. And I've sort of been sitting with this and looking at it, and I've come to an insight. It is an empowerment. It is an empowerment. Tai is giving us an empowerment. Don't get stuck in victim. When we're victim, we can't do anything. But look at the causes and conditions in order to understand how it come to be, so that we come to compassion and we will know what to do and not to do. We will see, does this person need help, or what is it? Yeah? The sentence that I would like to reconsider, is that we will take responsibility for the ways we may have contributed to the conflict. Because it can, this is about true community and communication. That sentence can stay there, you know. But if we are a victim, if we feel we are a victim of something that happened in our childhood, we did not contribute to that. So then that sentence, that does not count. Then we go to understanding, you know, looking at the causes and conditions of all people involved in order to understand. Then compassion will arise, which doesn't mean we condone the act, and we will see that person needs help. So the look into the causes and conditions in order to see, you know, the true nature of the person, you know, to see that they also, you know, are as here. They are part of this, you know, conditioned by ancestors, you know, the world around them. Yeah. But they're actually much bigger, but they don't know. They don't know. Yeah. So we use the relative truth in order to move to the, in order to touch the ultimate truth. What is right view? Right view is sometimes described as not two. This means the relative truth and the ultimate truth are not two. Our father, our mother, and us are not two. You know? Our sister and us, we are not two. Yes, that is not two in Chinese. And in Chinese you say, bu er, bu er. In Sino-Vietnamese it's but ni, something like that. Yeah. In Japanese, Sino-Japanese is fu ni. Yeah. Fu is not, ni is two. And in English it's not two. We are not two. We say that when there is a master, there's a student, right? So when there is a Zen master, there's a Zen student. They arise together. You cannot have a Zen master when there's no Zen student, right? You cannot have a speaker when there's nobody listening. We cannot have right without left. Yeah, we cannot have those opposites. Yeah? We cannot not have that language. So when there's a Zen master, there's a Zen students. And they say when two Zen masters meet, there's no reason for introduction. They recognize each other straight away. And I thought, yeah, when you have two Zen masters, there's another way of translating that, according to the books. When two Zen masters meet, there is no Zen master. And I thought, Then what are they? I thought, well, maybe then they're soulmates. Because to have one soulmate, you need to have another. Yeah? So we are soulmates, and we are soulmates of the Buddha. This is what we are looking into this retreat. So I wanted to offer to you today the what and the how of looking into the truth, to find a way out of suffering. And I wanted to offer you the bell mode and the practice of not to. We're going to practice walking meditation, and let us invite Thai to walk with us.